Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Motivation Monday podcast for Monday, July 30th, 2018. Hope you've had an awesome weekend and you're ready to get this week off on a good start. This week, I want to talk about a listening format that I think a lot of us are starting to come back to. That's really starting to gain popularity again. Now, I can remember when I was a kid, one of the biggest things that got me into music and really started me down the path that I would take for the rest of my life was listening to my dad's records. My dad had a massive vinyl collection. And I used to just sit on the floor, pull out records, stuff I had never heard of before. I think when I was a kid, I used to pay attention to the cover more than anything else. And that would kind of determine what I would listen to because I had never heard of any of these bands. But it was just a really, really formative experience for me. And then as I got older and, CDs started to really, really become the listening format of choice, for mass consumption, started to listen to a lot of CDs, right? And those were great too because it was still kind of a physical product where you could hold something in your hand while you were listening to it and read the liner notes and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously as we kept going here, now digital is really the format, right? We simply go on to Bandcamp or something and download files and listen to them that way. CDs are really, going the way of so many things that have become obsolete. I really find that nobody is making that many CDs anymore. And at least if they do, they just make a really, really short run of them to sell at shows and things like that. So I find myself really missing the physical format of the listening experience. Call me old-fashioned, call me whatever, but I think that that's a huge part of it, especially in jazz where, liner notes are really, really important to some of the things that we listen to. I also really enjoy album artwork, especially in the jazz world. Some of the old Blue Note covers, the Impulse covers, stuff like that. But what I've noticed is that vinyl is really making a comeback, and I think it's kind of people rebelling against this digital world that we live in, sort of wanting to go back to the analog style. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about vinyl and some of the cool stuff that's been happening over the past couple of months and years that in my mind is really signaling kind of a resurgence of this listening experience. Now, first of all, in my opinion, and I think all of you out there that are really serious music listeners, you know that vinyl has a completely different quality to it than digital, especially with these streaming services where the music is compressed into a format that makes it manageable to stream and store on your devices and all this kind of stuff. That equals audio degradation, right? Now, vinyl is kind of listening in its most pure form. There's no loss except for a little tiny bit at kind of the lowest frequencies. But if you've ever sat in front of speakers and listened to a record, you will notice this warmth and quality to it that just can't be replicated through digital. So that's one reason to really listen to vinyl. Now, the second reason is you can find all of these really cool old recordings for really cheap money. If you search, your local record store, if one still exists in your town, or if you go online and, order some of this stuff or go to yard sales or wherever you can find all this cool old vinyl. So that's one reason it's actually very, very cheap to pick up some really awesome records. Now, the second thing is, and this is a really cool new development, record companies like Blue Note are starting to reissue all of the classic Blue Note records on vinyl. And that to me is a real sign that it's worth it for them to do that or they wouldn't be doing it. Right? So there's all this great music. Like I just picked up Night Dreamer, Wayne Shorter on vinyl. I just picked up a bunch of great Coltrane records that have since been reissued on vinyl. And yeah, they're new editions, but they sound fantastic. And again, it just gives me that experience of, at the beginning or the end of the day, being able to like sit in a chair and look at the record artwork and really just enjoy my listening experience instead of just calling something up on my phone and listening to it casually. Now, I want to also say that I'm not against the new landscape of music. I mean, the access we have to listen to anything that we want is really fantastic. And I don't think I'd trade that for anything in the world. But I'm trying to balance it out with a different listening experience. So let's talk about a couple places that you can find vinyl that I think are really, really great. So it's like the digital landscape and the old school landscape sort of combined, where we can find and have access to all these records online, right? We can order them online, they'll show up at our door, and then we can have that old school listening experience. So a couple of places that I really like to buy records. If you guys have ever heard of the website called Reverb, it's basically an online marketplace for music gear, where all these sellers from all over the world, post their listings of new or used gear. And it's really fantastic. So they've just launched a website called Reverb LP. And it's the same thing. It's a marketplace for all these vinyl sellers all over the world that have records and want to be able to sell them, but now they can put them on a marketplace that reaches every corner of the world and find the right buyer for those records. There's so many fantastic records. There's nothing that you can't find on this website, which is really, really great. Now, I also want to push a business that's actually local to my area, but has great new vinyl at really good prices and ships anywhere that you want. And that's a business called Bull Moose Music. This is a chain of brick and mortar record stores that are around my area in New England, but also are now doing an online business where they're shipping everywhere. So go and check it out. They have just a really cool curated collection of vinyl, and you can find things in every genre. So if you're somebody that's, maybe used to listen to records and you don't anymore because it's simply not feasible for you, think about going out and buying a record player, even if it's a super cheap one. They have all these new options now, Bluetooth record players, all this kind of stuff that didn't exist back in the day. But think about maybe starting to listen to vinyl again. Maybe you're somebody that used to enjoy it and then you got caught up in the CD digital streaming thing. It's really awesome to just sit and do nothing but listen to a record and look at the liner notes, enjoy the album art. Yeah, it does take up a lot of space in our houses, but I think it's totally worth it. So anyways, thanks for listening to me ramble about listening to vinyl and why I enjoy it. Go on to the Facebook group or send me a message, 10minutejazzlesson.com. Let me know, do you listen to vinyl, or are you simply listening to music digitally? Do you have a huge CD collection? How do you like to consume your music? I always like to hear opinions from everybody else. Is vinyl stupid? It takes up too much space. It's, the quality of it is not worth it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter, and I'm sure we'll get into some debates here. But I hope you have a great week. We will see you on Friday with a regular episode. And if you are a vinyl listener, enjoy your week listening to some great music. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.